Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Ember. Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
Hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, everyone. You know the rules. When there's a puppy, I have to go full screen.
Yeah, and with three of them, I don't know how this whole show is not just dogs.
It's true. Maybe, we've been talking about you setting up a puppy cam because people do love puppies. But
I am hopefully doing that actually this weekend.
It'd be like we'd be little figures in the corner while everyone checks out the dogs.
But yeah, probably.
Honestly, that might do. So the first month or so of this show under its original name, Hot Topic, I took all the episodes and I made them into a 24/7 replay stream, and it did kind of badly. But a 24/7 puppy cam, now that has potential.
Ooh, yes, it does.
I do know how to set up a 24/7 stream. It just it's only worth doing if there's any traction on the damn thing,
True. I don't think my channel is big enough for that yet, but I'm getting there.
I don't know if it's so much about channel size exactly, because my channel is bigger than some channels that do have a 24/7 replay. You know, I mean, we have a lot of growing to do still, but like, it's not about channel size. That doesn't make it effective. It's something that people will tune in to watch, knowing that it's like a replay sort of deal. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. Today, we're doing Black History Month about it. Yes, that's right. We're covering one of the most famous freedom fighters from the pre-Civil War era, but also Harriet Tubman is such a badass that whatever you learned about her in school or college is a fraction of how cool she actually was. So we're going to get into that today. First, opening notes. So I thought about doing a super chat goal to show off my newest plushie, but those haven't been going super well. So instead, I want to just show you my newest plush because I really want to show you guys. You want to see my booby? He's got the blue feet. And the really cool thing about this critter, it's the legs are hard. They're posable. They're metal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like I can't do it like with my hands properly, but like he'll stand up.
That's so cool.
I have an erect booby, folks.
Are you going to name it though? And if so,
I was contemplating Bobble or Bobby. You know, my very first stuffed animal was, of course, a bear, but I named him Bobby Bear. Bobby Booby. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a contest. We'll do a naming contest or something. Don't know. We'll think about it some more. But I am just fucking tickled. It's true. Everyone loves boobies.
Everybody does.
See, you have puppies, I have boobies. Ooh, we could have a super chat contest. I could put the booby on screen, and you could put Daisy on screen, and we could see who. I don't know. I'm thinking of like the way Takis makes the person who gets the least votes defend something silly for a couple of minutes, or a kip.
She's just like, no. She's like, okay, 10 seconds is enough. Goodbye.
Oh goodness. All right. In other news, as you know, I sometimes do a bonus show in other news when I have both time and availability, and also a thing that I want to talk about that specifically isn't being covered by the mainstream media in a way that is kind of important. I have such a story, but there isn't enough story to do an episode on. So I'll just make it a note here. I found out from CBS News this morning, which is sus to begin with, since it's run by the Trump administration now, but never mind that. State media for the win. But CBS is reporting that the administration just let the last nuclear arms pact expire. So there is now nothing holding Russia or the United States accountable for the number of nukes each country produces, or quality control on those weapons.
To be fair, there wasn't before. It was there in writing, and we just do whatever the hell we want to anyway, so.
We pretty much always have, yes. And coming up tonight, Women's Bible Study with Dr. Ben. We're doing week 4, but if you've missed previous weeks, not to worry. The old episodes are rewatchable, and also you haven't missed much, TBH. It's been funny, but we haven't learned much from the Bible study because it's not actually about learning, it's about telling. And the general message is women suck, obey men, because it's a women's Bible study program. There's not even much Bible in it, weirdly enough. But it is a bunch of fun, and that's happening at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Whether you're into that sort of thing or not, that show will last about 90 minutes, and then we'll all go over to Dr. Ben's for his trivia night hangout to get some of that nasty misogyny out of our mouths with some drinks and silliness. So I hope you join us for both of those. It'll be pretty neat.
And before the Bible study, Kentucky Atheist is doing a 1.5K member like 1.5K sub celebration stream. So some of us are going to be over there. That starts at 6. And then after Dr. Ben, I think Ambush Apostate is doing a thing after that. So there's stuff to watch all night.
There's always stuff going on. I've contemplated doing a bonus show about a different thing, but I think I'm actually going to try to turn it into a proper video after Maya came through yesterday and, you know, reminded me that technically video essays do better than any live stream officially. I have yet to see that happen, but I have an idea that I kind of want to explore anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so let's. Oh, one other thing. I started working on a new intro. As you know, I'm constantly upgrading bits and pieces for the channel, improving infrastructure, and just updating out-of-date things. And I'm working on a new countdown. Because when we first came out with the part where people say my name, there were a lot of people who were like, but you didn't include me. And I'm like, well, I need a clip of you. Like, I only have so many hours in a day. I can't go through thousands of hours of video to find that half a second when you say Ember, you know? So like, if you have one, send it to me. Let me know where it is, whatever. And I'll see about including it when I have, I like to do them in batches because edits like that, they take a while. Like, even if it's a small render, it's a lot of processing. So I like to do them in groups together. But I was working on a new one, and I was thinking of like taking the names and moving them into the countdown part of the intro, but my computer crashed, and then I had to go to bed. So I didn't get to finish it. But I did get the new names part, at least the more updated names part. And I thought I'd show you guys because I think it's funny as hell.
Ember. Oh, Ember.
Nice, Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
We will be yelling at Ember.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God. Ember.
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 Ember's
Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
What's up, Ember?
I see it, Ember.
Hey, Ember is hot.
Did you notice some new creators in there?
And I also noticed at the very, very end of Bree's clip, it almost sounds like somebody says Lilith. Almost. So it sounds like I'm in there.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's AJ starting to say I love it.
Oh. Almost sounds like Lilith, though. So I'm just like,
I know. Well, it's a difficult thing of like harvesting clips from panel shows because there's if you have more than 3 people on screen, there's always at least 2 people talking. Like, someone is always talking over someone else. There's pluses and minuses, but it makes it hard to isolate audio because everyone's stepping on everybody else. That's one plus, I suppose, of recording individual inputs. Like, that's a thing that some of these streaming softwares do, is they let you record each person's individual inputs. It's a major pain in the ass, and it's a huge data drain. But not only do you get clean footage from each person's camera, as well as the overall scene, but you also get clean audio, what they are saying specifically. So you can, like, cut them out and remove the overlapping audio.
Nice.
It has its pluses. It's a lot of fucking work, but you get a better output, I think. Anyway, I digress. I mean, as you know, people come here for the tangents. It's what we do here.
Yeah.
That's why we have the emoji.
Tangents. We have to have the tangents.
It's why we have the emoji and the shirt. We have a shirt for that. Now, this shirt, this is our very first piece of merch for the new incarnation of the merch store. I don't make any money off of that. I made it as low price as I could because I'm very poor and I know a lot of other people are too. So I put it as low as they would let me put it. So I don't make anything off that one. There is other stuff in the merch store I do make money off. So, you know, look around if you feel so inclined.
The hoodies are very comfortable.
I've heard that rumor. All right, now let's actually get to the dang point. Ember, why do you... Listen, I always try to put all the digressions in the beginning. It never completely works, but it does help us stay more on track through the course of the show. Also, it lets us like stall a little and hang out and whatnot while people are still wandering in, because the notifications don't really go out the way they're supposed to, because so I found out one of the reasons people aren't getting YouTube notifications is because YouTube likes to unsubscribe people when they're not looking. So double check, make sure you are subscribed. If you're subscribed, check the bell and make sure it's set for all notifications, because if it's not, you won't get any notifications. And thirdly, you have to check your YouTube settings to enable YouTube to send you notifications, because if YouTube isn't allowed to send notifications, it doesn't matter what else you select, YouTube can't send you notifications. So there's 3 separate things you have to opt into in order to let the notifications work. And even then, it's hit or miss because the algorithm is a dick. But still, they don't make it easy. All right.
Algorithm is a dick. Yeah, it is.
It's true. It's true. Miranda says Ember digresses professionally, and we love it. Oh goodness. Anywho. Harriet Tubman. Now relax, we're not going to read the article all day. This is just an overview. I have a documentary for us. In fact, I had a whole bunch of videos that delved into separate parts of her life, but then this morning I found this documentary and I'm like, oh, now yes, here we go. So we're going to be getting into it, but overview. Harriet Tubman, Bort Araminta Ross in 1822, survived until 1913. She was around for quite a while after the war, being a bad. Yeah. So she obviously she was an abolitionist. She escaped slavery and made at least 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people. Now numbers vary. The slave catchers said it was over 300. But, we'll get to that later. Including her family and friends, using a network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known collectively as the Underground Railroad. Now, that's the subject of next Friday's video, because we're doing Black History Month all week, and you'll find there's a certain reason I select all month. Jesus Christ, Ember. My medicine helps, but sometimes I get glitches. Anyhow, next week on Underground Railroad. The week after, not 100% for sure, but I'm leaning towards Robert Smalls because he's one of my favorites too. But we'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, there's certain lessons from this period that people today really, really need to remember. Really need to. So, Underground Railroad next week. During the American Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army. So there's a couple of things right there. Like, she's not just a person so badass, she keeps going back into slaves' territory as a wanted fugitive herself to get more slaves and bring them to safety, escorting them all the fucking way to Canada once the Fugitive Slave Act was enacted. And come back again, but she was also a fucking spy and a military officer, and like, there is no end to this woman's badassery. So she was born in Maryland. She was beaten and whipped as a child because, slaves. Her grandmother, it turns out, I don't know if it mentions this here, but her maternal grandmother had been a free woman who was captured in Africa. And so, like, her mother was born into slavery. She was born into slavery, but it was possible for a free person in living memory to still be around, I don't know how long her grandmother did live. That isn't something I've been able to find. But in any case, somebody threw a heavy metal thing, probably an overseer, and hit her in the head. And the injury caused dizziness, pain, spells of hypersomnia, which is, extra sleepy time, that bothered her whole life. Now, she also, she ended up getting brain surgery in Boston. I have to imagine this is after she escaped, because I don't know that any slave master is going to pay for brain surgery for a slave.
No.
But pre-surgery, post-surgery, whatever, she started having visions and shit. Which, I mean, brain injury and then visions. You know, from a skeptical point of view, we're like, yeah, okay. But from her point of view, it seemed to be, she ascribed them to God. She assumed they were coming from God. And I'm sure other people had different ideas about that, like either you're a crazy person or the visions are coming from Satan, but it doesn't matter. It made her a prophet, a visionary, a person that people believed in because she had something she could demonstrate as a direct line to God. Unlike many of the preachers of the day, it showed that the Holy Spirit could move within a brown-skinned person and all sorts of, like, she put it to good use, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so this, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. But despite being devoutly religious, she wasn't a render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's type. She was a let my people go type. And we fucking love to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose that's another reason for the name Moses.
Yeah.
In 1949, escaped to Philadelphia, only to immediately return to Maryland to rescue some of her family. Now, it says her family. It's only some of her family. Her very last trip was when she rescued her mother and father. So she got some family at different points. One group at a time. She brought relatives with her out of state and others, guiding dozens at a time to freedom. She traveled by night and in extreme secrecy, and said she never lost a passenger after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Like, now, notice the timing here. She escapes in 1849 and immediately starts leading other slaves to freedom. 1850, Fugitive Slave Act. I realize there were other fugitive slaves and other people doing similar things elsewhere in the country, but like, the fact that Harriet Tubman starts, it's almost like God told them, watch out for this one. And they passed the law specifically because of her. I mean, we know it does happen from time to time. For instance, West Virginia's ban on trans athletes is because of one girl. There is one person. The whole state passed a law to fuck over one little girl.
Yeah.
And that's not the only state where that happened. So they kind of thing can happen. We're still doing it today. So, right, she helped guide escapees farther into British North America, today Canada, because of the Fugitive Slave Act. They had to get completely out of the country. Sort of like is also happening now. And in 1858, she met John fucking Brown. Now, John Brown is a fascinating tale in his own right. I kind of want to do a show just about him, but you'll notice he is very much not black. So it's not going to be this month. And next month is Women's History Month. So it's probably not going to be next month either. So someone remind me in April. We'll see. But he was a wild critter. Now, things happened in a certain interesting way. Remember, the Fugitive Slave Act, 1850. 1859, 9 years later, Harriet Tubman is still active, still making raids into slave territory to bring people the fuck out of there. John Brown wants to raid Harper's Ferry. We'll get a bit more into it as we go on when we touch on it in the documentary thing. But it's almost like it had to go the way it did. We'll dive into that some more in a bit. During the Civil War, she, of course, joined the Union Army, first as a cook and a nurse, and then as an armed scout and a spy. And that's another thing we see a lot too. Like, oh, you're a woman who, you know, you can't lead. But yeah, by the end of the war, she was leading troops. She's widely considered the first woman to have been a commanding officer in the United States Army. Let's see. Right. She raided Combahee Ferry. I should have just looked further at it because it was probably in there. Combahee Ferry liberated more than 700 slaves. So even if the slave catcher claim of more than 300 slaves is correct, she more than doubled her freedom count with this one raid. And she's credited as the first woman, not first black woman, first woman, period, to lead a military operation in the United States. After the war, she retired to her family home because after the war, the Fugitive Slave Act, of course, was gone. So, I'm hearing voices.
Kip.
Oh, look, a Kelly. Hello.
Kelly.
I was like, they're gonna see me.
So there's supposed to be an alarm when a person joins. I'm supposed to hear a ding. For some reason, it doesn't go off half the time.
Now like the message thing is stuck. But I'm gonna have to come back in because somehow I cannot get rid of the studio chat off my screen.
Well, that's rude.
Yeah, I'll be right back because somehow it's stuck and it won't move.
All right.
Pesky technology.
Also, Kelly has a show right after this too.
Let's see. I may be able to find that real quick while Kelly's away. But yeah, Harriet, she planned ahead. It was so cool. So after the war, this Fugitive Slave Act gone, so she was able to procure like a farmstead kind of thing in the middle of New York State, Auburn, New York. That's one of the reasons I feel so connected to her, because I've been to her grave. Her whole thing is still there, right? But she also helped set up an old folks home for Black people in Auburn, so that when she herself became an old folks, she had somewhere to go. Like she built this thing so that she herself could use it later. And this is fucking neat to me. I mean, it's just sound planning, but hey, we have double Kellys.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, and there's Kelly's show after this one. Neat. So let me switch what I'm trying to do and see if I can set up. I'm pretty sure you've redirect stuff turned on, so I can. It's hard to talk and do things at the same time. I don't know why. It's very peculiar. All right, since you're just joining us, thoughts on Harriet Tubman? And she's gone again.
Daisy, you don't want to be on?
Technology. It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I need to know which window I was in. All right. Detroit Atheist Queen 247. I'm not finding it, but I did hear a ding this time, so there's a plus.
Yay!
All right, what's the show coming up called? Maybe I can search by title.
Yeah, it's a Troy Atheist Queen. Here, I'll put the and put the link in the private chat.
Well, I mean, I can get the link from the public chat. That's not a problem. I just need like the title. It's just Secular Activism Unfiltered. Okay.
With Ambushed Apostate.
Secular Activism with Ambushed Apostate. There we go. Oh, it is the 6th. Look at that. I don't know what day it is. It's fine.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. It's the 6th already?
I know. I can't believe I'm out of week already because I have so much week still to do. Like I have more bonus shows set up. I've been meaning to do a calling you out show over on the Jav and Jugs channel. I have like a video to record, and like there's not enough time. Folks, if a big part of what slows me down so much is having a lot of medical things happening at once. If you want to be like maximally productive, well, for one thing, don't be a trans person in the United States, but for another thing, don't get stabbed because it's not good, folks. It takes a long fucking time to recover, and
not fun.
Yeah, not great. So yeah. All right, maybe we get to keep Kelly this time.
Yes, I don't know what was going on. Like my internet was being stupid.
It's just being rude.
Yeah,
All right.
like dang, I really
Thoughts
need
on
to be
Harriet
on
Tubman?
this one.
Kelly, did you see Ember's boobie?
No. Oh yeah, I did. And I just realized I have on my work glasses on.
I like to hold my boobie.
Yeah, I saw it in our group thing. I just realized I have on my work glasses. Oh well, don't see me looking ugly today. It's my work.
No, they're fine.
No, it's these ugly things.
They will.
Okay, but this is more
my
important.
boobie's popping out of my shirt.
Oh my god, I love it.
I'll flash y'all my boobie.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm easily amused.
But I do think that we talked about earlier, John Brown needs to be talked about because he did some, we need to talk about the allies as well that helped us.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to that. I don't want to it's wild because there are people like John Brown who definitely deserve a lot of recognition and a lot more said about them. But also it seems highly inappropriate to be like, it's Black History Month. Let's center a white guy,
I mean, that's like me having Dr. Kip Davis, on my channel, because we're talking about slavery. But I know he knows a lot about it and can give a lot of advice about it. And, hello, sugar. And, we're not a Black person, but he can give a lot of information about it. That's how I'm looking at it. He's an ally.
Yeah, it's a different sort of thing because it's not about who he is. It's about what he knows.
Okay.
From an alternative perspective, you could have, for example, if you track down somebody who was an escaped slave, a modern day slave, for example, and you brought them on to talk about modern day slavery, then that would be the thing, is like you have the lived experience of being an escaped slave. And in that case, it wouldn't really matter so much what color they are either, because it's what happened to them. But like the difference is, do you bring on someone to talk about the life of an escaped slave or the escaped slave? That's why representation is different than expertise,
Yes. And a lot of people, I can't give his last name is, but they called him Uncle Tom, and he has a museum. It's in Canada, but it's called the Jebediah. What's his last name? Whatever. But anyway, in that museum, they talked about how even though people went to Canada, they're not necessarily they stayed free. That some areas in Canada allowed bounties to go over in Canada to get them back as well. I did not know that coming from an American. We never were taught that.
Yeah, we don't learn a lot of things here in the U.S.
Well, yeah.
Strangely enough.
Just for instance, like with Texas, everybody knows how Texans are with Texas. You ask us where we're from, we say Texas instead of America. It's just Texan thing. But one thing, and we spent an entire year going over Texas history. What they don't tell you is the reason Texas went to war with Mexico to separate from Mexico is because Mexico was going to put in anti-slavery laws and Texas wanted to keep their slaves. They do not tell you that at all.
We didn't get that either.
No.
Like when we were learning, we did a special unit on Texas history also because, Six Flags. There's a reason Texas has been separating from countries its entire fucking history. It's a thing. But they didn't cover that either. They presented it as rich plantation owners wanted to be part of the U.S., not part of Mexico. They didn't say why. They were just like these, rich colonists. They came over, they colonized Texas, they set up their lands, and then they're like, you know what? This is ours now. Sort of like we did with Hawaii. But don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
Did you know that Hawaii, people make a big deal out of Juneteenth, and it is a big deal. But that the reason it's Juneteenth is because that's the day that the last plantation in Texas got word that emancipation had
They
happened.
did not tell them.
So that was like the last place in the U.S. was freed, except for two problems. It wasn't the last place in the U.S. that was freed. It was the last place in the old Confederacy where information of the fact they were already free finally reached them. The last place there was slavery in the, banned by the Constitution sense in the United States was 1900.
So they were still being slaves at that time.
Technically, slavery is still legal in the U.S., but
definitely
prisoners.
Yeah, and that's why you think so many black people are prisoners.
Exactly. We still haven't banned slavery. I was getting to that after the Hawaii bit, because when Hawaii was a territory, it still had slavery. It wasn't until they were making a serious bid for statehood that they were like, you know what, we can't have slavery because that's unconstitutional.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to make it back again.
Yeah, so there was still antebellum slavery in the 20th century, and that's kind of fucked up. I mean, the fact it continued at all is fucked up. But like,
extremely. It's extremely.
But yeah, we do still have slavery. That's another thing you're taught in schools, but you're not told the whole story. Is now slavery is banned. America's a free country. No. Because here's an interesting thing. While prisoners do have more rights in some ways than they used to, like we don't just like kill prisoners all willy-nilly and no one cares. Okay, we do still do that. Never mind. But there's standards of hospital care, which sometimes prisoners actually have access to. But never mind that. Prior to the banning of slavery in the conventional sense, you couldn't actually enslave your prisoners. They were prisoners. They were held to have some kind of human rights. After that amendment, which specifically stated you can enslave your prisoners, now every penitentiary in the country is literally a new plantation.
Yeah, I was looking into, and I think it was Alabama, the prison system there, and how everybody in that prison basically dies there. And the different and the treacherous work that they had to do. Basically, it was like working on a plantation, sun up to sundown. And it still goes on. There's different stuff that they do now. They don't do that plantation stuff anymore. But they still do strenuous work from sun up to sundown still. Nothing's ever changed.
In some places, they receive compensation, but it's like pennies per hour.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, it's like 25 cents an hour. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a
Although
company.
We don't treat the military that much better when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like you're given passes for liberty and whatnot, but for the most part, you have to be where you're told to be doing what you're told to do. You can't even sleep on your own time. You're told when you're allowed to sleep and when you have to be up. But hey, right? Like your life is totally controlled. You're effectively a semi-voluntary slave. You are owned by the government. Now they do pay you, but when you break down, granted, I was in a couple of decades ago, so it's probably changed a few times since then. But when I was in, the pay rates were in the vicinity of $1 an hour. Like even at the beginning of the officer scale, it was around $2 an hour.
Yeah, because I had a friend when we were younger, but she went in the military, the Navy, as a matter of fact, and when she had her child, they made her come back before even her 6 weeks was up. They demanded her to come back. I remember her being crying, like I can't even get
cut your thing short.
I can't even get 6 weeks with my baby.
Oof.
Yeah.
Shit's fucking wild.
And then what said a lot of people military when they retire, a lot of them are get homeless. They leave the war. So you said U.S. the veterans and stuff that need help. They don't make any money. They don't have any. It's sad. Like the thing they do for our country, and then they come up and can't even get a decent living when they get out of the military.
I mean, it's been a thing since Vietnam, if not before. I mean, hell, after the revolution,
people
the army marched on Washington to demand their fucking pay because we've always treated our military like shit, like servants, but we won't fix it. We don't ever fix. I mean, I was homeless for 8 years.
Yeah, there's no way. No way.
And it wasn't because of the government that I got out of it. It just. Nobody cares. Like people make a big deal out of it politically. Oh, we can't help these people because look at all the homeless veterans. But then they don't help the homeless veterans. They never fucking help them.
They don't. No, they do not.
Mark says in 1990s, I was an E3 making $664 a month with room, board, and full medical. And that's sort of the excuse is like they deduct for the room, board, and medical and etc. And so whatever you get left over, that's a fair wage. But no other employer gets away with that bullshit, right? Like if you work for a private business, they have to pay you minimum wage plus the legally required benefits,
Yes.
It's fucking wild. But I digress. Although I will say one somewhat perk of the military is the food is included, and that does reduce your cost of living quite a lot. Now the food is not great, but it is better than starving. I still think of like when I first got in, I was up at Great Lakes Naval Base and the mess hall there. First of all, in the Navy, every building is a ship. Like when you check out the list of ships, most of them are buildings. Like every single building is designated as I'm like, how do you sail that building? Like, what do you mean it's a ship? But never mind. So the cafeteria crew, none of them could spell. They had a big whiteboard that they'd put the menu on, but none of them could spell. So many mornings we'd go in for a breakfast of dog nuts and scrambled eggs.
I've been like, okay.
There was nothing at it. None of them could cook either, to be honest. Like there was hot sauce on every table because everything came out completely bland. I felt so fucking ripped off because one person bet me $5 I couldn't drink an entire thing of Tabasco sauce, which of course I could, and I did, and I made $5. But that very night on the evening news, there was a story out of Chicago of a college kid who took a bet for $50 to drink a shot of Tabasco, and he did and had to be hospitalized. And I'm like, that fucker.
See, I would have been
10 times as much and failed.
I would have been a kid because that does not sit right with my stomach. I like, man.
No, it's not healthy. But I mean, when you have a stomach that when I was younger, I could eat literally anything and as much of it as I wanted to, So it was, yeah.
The way my stomach is set up, it does not like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have the weirdest allergy to tomatoes. Tomatoes are in fucking everything.
I don't know. I never get along well with tomatoes. They upset my stomach, but for some reason, if it's processed enough, like Tabasco sauce actually is a tomato sauce, weirdly enough, but certain spaghetti sauces, most pizza sauces like marinara, those things were all fine. But if like the tomatoiness was still, the essential element of tomato was still there, it upset the fuck out of my stomach.
Yeah.
I suspect I could handle it better now because my chemical system has changed considerably, but it's, I don't know, it just doesn't taste right to me. It's too fruity to be a vegetable and too vegetable-y to be a fruit.
Yeah.
Even though it is literally a fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, I was never a huge tomato fan beforehand, and then when I found out I was allergic to them, I'm like, okay.
See, the tomatoes, I have acid reflux, and I'm really not supposed to eat it because it kind of did something to me. But I can't get over no lasagna and spaghetti and stuff. Yeah. But I do make a white sauce lasagna too, though.
So do I.
Yes.
Mine's good.
Mine ain't bad either. Mine ain't bad, Lil.
Making me hungry. Stop it.
I know. And I need to find some food.
And if you two are getting hungry, we have a shirt for that also.
Yes, we
do.
do.
Lasagna and garlic bread. That's perfect.
If you want to have a good time. Yes, the garlic bread is the asexual meme thing, but it also doubles as food. Oh, goodness.
Man, but it good. I make a cake and it's got better than sex. So
all right. We
are going off on the rails, yeah.
I know we have all the tangents. Garlic bread makes a good tangent. But if we're gonna get into this, we better get going because this thing is an hour long and we don't even have an hour left of the show.
No.
I need to dip on it in 30. Well, hold on.
Harriet Tubman is one of the most underrecognized people in American history based on her accomplishments. Known as a human rights activist, humanitarian, and women's rights champion, however, throughout her life, she assumed several daring and incredible roles. Most people know her as one of the most famous conductors on the Underground Railroad. But what most people don't know is that she was also a nurse, army spy, and scout who was involved in one of the most important raids in the Civil War. And on top,
it does bug me that everywhere her biography is listed, it goes, you know, what a lot of people don't know is that she was a Civil War nurse, an army spy, and scout, and like that's really cool. But like, she led a raid that freed 700 people. She commanded troops. Like, why are you stopping at scout?
Yeah.
Like, there's maybe she didn't have like an official rank of commander or captain or however the fuck they do it in the army because the ranks are ridiculous where a captain is actually a lieutenant, but never mind that.
Yeah.
I'm teasing Mark because he was talking about army stuff earlier.
of everything else that she did for the government and our country, to support herself, she had to sell baked goods, and knowing how well she did with everything that she did, she probably baked a mean pie as well. Most of her life.
What a weird thing to put in a documentary. To be like, she was good at everything, so she probably baked a mean pie. What? First of all, what? And second, probably. And third, what?
Harriet spent in the North, yet it's her time and most importantly her work in the low country of South Carolina, and especially on Hilton Head Island, that really deserves recognition. Named Araminta Ross at birth when she was a slave, she was called Minty by her family, Grandma Moses by those that she rescued.
Minty! I love it.
Minty.
And General by John Jones and some of the military officers that she encountered. She chose to be called Harriet Tubman as her freedom name.
Oh, there it is. Minty, aged about 27 years. When did she run away? Hold on. Let me go back to the biography here. We know she escaped in 1849. How old was she at the time? She was born in 1822. So she was 27. Oh, that's right. There's some conflict about when she was even born, right? Like one person said 1820, another person said 1830, and so the historians just kind of went 1822 is probably close enough. So maybe since this is a primary source, it's a, newspaper material. If she was 27 in 1849, that would mean 1822. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up.
When she married John Tubman, regardless of what she was called, she was small in stature, yet filled with incredible courage and convictions. Standing at only 5'2", Harriet
Mark, you were correct. I can't admit that the Army is better than the Navy because that would be a lie. Now, in fairness, the Army does have more boats than the Navy, but the Navy has more planes than the Air Force. And the Air Force has more spaceships than the Space Force. So what are we doing?
Was a giant in all that she accomplished. Put to work as a slave as early as 5 years old, she was hired out by her owner to care for an infant. Throughout her life as a slave, usually as an additional form of punishment for what was considered rude and disrespectful behavior, Harriet was given hard labor that was mostly given to men, like hauling logs and working with mule teams.
So she could handle the manly labor, but also it made her strong. But also, like, from babysitter to manual labor, this is a weird narration, but it has more detail than any of the other videos I'd found, which is why I wanted to cover this one.
In addition to the labor, she experienced excessive cruelty from lashings, as well as a life-threatening concussion.
Not for nothing, that image is not of lashings. And the concussion, like we mentioned earlier, is kind of important because that's how she got her permanent brain damage, which gave her her visions, but also the headaches. Like, I wouldn't want anybody to... We're not even going to get started on people suffering with headaches. But this, we never talk about this. And this shit is important. This was not even cruel and unusual punishment.
No.
In slave time. Like, this is a photograph. This shit was going on far enough into the future. They took a photo of it. This is the level of cruelty practiced in the United States.
Yeah.
From lashings, as well as a life-threatening concussion. The intense level of cruelty that she experienced forced her to plan her escape, although the concussion caused her debilitating headaches and unexpected sleeping spells that continued throughout her life. After several years from suffering from headaches, the constant pain eventually led her to have brain surgery at Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital. Prior to the surgery, when she was offered anesthesia, she refused, insisting that she be able to chew on a bullet instead.
Chewing on a bullet, not the recommended tech, especially when bullets were still made of lead. However, that choice may have saved her life, because as we now know, you generally want people to be conscious during brain surgery. So because the surgeon needs to be aware if they're poking into an area that would damage your ability to function. And you can only do that if the person is conscious. If they're out cold, you don't know if you accidentally sliced off their speech center.
It has been said that she chose to depend on her incredible grit, as well as memories of the amputated soldiers that she nursed during the war, who also refused to accept anesthesia. It was that kind of strength and determination.
That's interesting. Many of the... So we make a big deal about the fact that the Civil War surgeons, the old bone saws, they worked without anesthesia a lot. But what we don't talk about is that a lot of people refused anesthesia. Now, in a Civil War medical tent, they didn't often have real anesthetics available. Low shortage, low supply, and people not knowing how the fucking pharmacology worked. But the fact that people were refusing it when it was available is a thing that nobody really talks about or looks into. Maybe we'll dig into that another time.
Yeah, I was about to say that will become interesting.
Because I thought there wasn't any anesthesia. A lot of times that, like, maybe that was because it was wartime, but like during Civil War, they had to drink like whiskey or something, scotch or something to deal with the pain. It was cutting off limbs and stuff because they didn't have no pain.
Yeah, like that's a time tested method. Is whenever you're going to do surgery, you take like the highest proof alcohol you have, you douse the wound to disinfect it, and then you drink a couple of slugs.
Yeah, that's weird. That's what I thought. They
didn't
had anesthesia in the 1800s because they had to drink liquor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they,
I
don't know nothing.
I mean, I'm trying to think when chloroform was a thing. If they had chloroform then or not.
Oh, yeah.
Sure they did.
Yeah. Are you knitting?
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick overview. There was a great deal of reluctance because at the time, anesthetics were very, very new. We didn't know much of the chemistry or how it worked. To be clear, we still don't completely understand how or why anesthetics work. And that makes a lot of people really leery. Like, we don't know why you just conk out or why it wears off when it wears out. We only know that it does. But at the time, they mostly used chloroform. That was what they had.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's a history person over there.
not everybody woke up after chloroform. There was a pretty high risk. Not as high as, not having surgeries you needed, but holy shit.
Enabled Harriet to make 13 trips south and free 70 enslaved relatives and strangers. On her last trip south, she rescued her aging parents. Her success.
I love that she goes from a $100 bounty for a runway to a
rescues came from her
$500
ability to outrun her pursuers by using disguises and evasive tactics, resulting in her never losing one of her passengers on their road to freedom.
Now, a couple of those images are actually from Harriet Tubman's house. It's been a long time since I've been in the house. The last time I tried to go was I think it was like 2021, and they were still closed post-COVID. But it's been a minute. But yeah, a lot of those little hideaway places. This is one of the reasons I want to do a show specifically about the Underground Railroad, because people have this idea that there's like hidden tunnels and shit. And in some cases, there are literal tunnels in some of the cities. But for the most part, it was just safe houses with hidey holes.
Yeah, we have one in a church. The Second Baptist Church in downtown, like near like Greektown area of Detroit. And that's one of our Underground Railroads. And it's just I can't really talk about it, but it's just a room under the church that people went to hide. And this is it? When I went. But it's still the history and stuff like that, though. I wanted to take my my atheist, like non-believers group down there, but in order to go on Sunday, you must go to service. So I might have to sacrifice to go to service.
Yeah,
I know.
Hiding history like that, it's wild. But yeah, there's a lot of different options. It's everything from Anne Frank hiding in the attic to, as Bree pointed out, just false backs to closets and shit. Like, the reason they called it a railroad is because there were stops along it. There were known stations and waypoints and whatnot, but most of the travel was just normal walking on the roads or hiding in the woods,
Yeah.
Harriet's success at avoiding capture was attributed to her brilliance, skilled in clandestine tactics, distractions, and changing her appearance. Even when in the line of sight of bounty hunters, she figured out ways of evading them on the fly. Driven in.
I'm not sure why we showed footage of a man when we were talking about Harriet avoiding bounty hunters, but okay. It's I don't know. It's fine probably, but yeah, she had a pistol. Like, now technically it is a pistol because it's shorter, but you can see it's one of the old hammerlock styles.
She was such badass.
Yeah, before the Trump administration came in, I was lucky enough to be able to go to the African American History Museum in DC for the Smithsonian, and there they had Harriet Tubman's hymn book, which was really cool to see, and all the artifacts and stuff that they had.
Hell yeah. But I mean, this it's a really good point, because a lot of people think, oh yeah, post-Revolutionary War, of course it was one of the old hammerlock style, but the revolver was invented in 1836, and it very quickly became the standard issue for the army, for lawmen. So by the time Harriet was active, they were around. The fact that she was using one of these older.
She was known for carrying a gun.
Oh shit. One of this older style, it's kind of telling about financial situations.
during her escapes, making several trips north, even though she had upwards of a $40,000 bounty.
Imagine having your name on a wanted dead or alive poster. Because remember, this is also concurrent with the Old West bullshit where we'd put bounties on individuals in the tens of thousands of dollars. Again, pre-Civil War. So translate that to today's money. That's over $1 million fucking dollars.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine being so... if I saw my name on a wanted poster like that, I would feel like I have been successful in life. I've done some shit. I was pissing off the right people, you know?
Unable to understand the wanted posters, she was still successful leading them to freedom because she
unable for helping 300 slaves escape on the Underground Railroad. So this, of course, would be like later in her life, but damn.
executed her raids only on weekends to avoid the runaway information that was being spread by the newspapers, as well as only going during the winter months when less people were traveling.
Now, that's an important note also, using the tactics of the way news spread, because the newspapers would report on the latest runaways, so people would keep their eye out. But if you move out on the days the newspapers don't run, you get a bit of a head start, because that's how people got most of their information at the time.
Through the woods at night and through thick underbrush.
Iris says, $40,000 for me? Can I turn myself in? Right, even today, that's money that catches eyeballs. Like, holy shit. Transparency moment. $40,000 is more than I made last year. Holy shit.
I won't say that for me, but I could use 40,000 though.
It's extremely difficult. However, Harriet was taught how to survive by living off the land by her father and grandmother, and her enslavement labor of walking into wet marshes to check on muskrat traps taught her how to be comfortable outdoors and recognizing nature's different sounds. Trip after trip, she learned to improvise and become very handy, able to utilize what she could find. Her knowledge.
Now, that's sort of important too, is like they're holding up an experience she had during her enslavement as if it was a benefit. And it's true that she was able to put what she learned to good use. But the fact that the slaves in her plantation, I suppose, for lack of a better term, were so poorly kept that they had to hunter-gatherer in the wilderness to not starve, that's not great. I mean, it's cool she had the tools for this so that as they moved, they could find food and shit. But let me tell you, when you're trying to move at speed, you do not have time to hunter-gatherer. You can't spend half the day looking for edible berries and shit when you're trying to get somewhere quickly, especially when you're trying to evade slave catchers or whatever, whoever may be on your tail. Like you can't do that. If you want to, and Harriet was nothing if not a careful planner. You want properly, if you have time and ability to plan ahead, to have supply caches here and there. And so you'd tell your people, okay, we have to make it, to let's say York tonight, because there's food there. There's a place we can sleep there, or during the day, I suppose. But whatever the case may be. Brisa, sounds like skill issues, Ember. It's true. I mean, if only we were all ninja warriors, we could like just be romping through the woods and boom, down a deer, and then we've got dinner. Bree's gonna do some warp foraging. Yeah,
we're gonna be working together.
Oh,
talking about haunted plantations in a couple weeks. So join us with that.
Yeehaw.
Nice.
Knowledge of the region and its wildlife were elements that she would often use to her advantage. Several bodies of water were between enslavement and freedom, which meant that crossing rivers and creeks successfully required understanding depths and tides, as well as helped her wash off the scent of her passengers.
To be clear, you don't actually need to know about tides for crossing creeks and things, but you do need to know about flash floods and other various potential issues.
Knowing that moss only grows on trees facing the north enabled her.
That's not actually true, but never mind.
To feel what direction she needed to take in the darkness. mimicking different bird sounds.
Like, okay, so it's bothering me because they're inserting folklore and legend into a documentary, but also it appears that they're just, I don't know if they're getting it from unreliable sources and they're just uncritically putting it in, or if they're just making shit up. Because from a practical standpoint, it doesn't matter if you're doing a documentary whether you made shit up or a source made shit up. If you're not verifying it's real, you may as well, somebody made it up and you put it in your movie. Like, that's no, you can't navigate based on the direction of the fucking moss. And it's a miracle she understood enough constellations to find the North Star. What do you mean? Like, I understand there's a lot of illiterate people in the United States today. There's probably some people who don't know how to find the North Star, but like, that's not exceptional. That's a thing that illiterate people can do, you know?
Yeah, growing up when my kids were little, my 5-year-old could find the North Star. It's not that hard. My grandson can find it. He's not even 4 yet.
So I don't know. It's just a little note. I don't know if they were producing it like super fast for some reason and things fell through the cracks. I don't like to, because when you have shit information or even false information in a documentary, it makes you wonder what else is bullshit in there. It brings the true things under greater scrutiny.
Especially owl calls to signal passengers help them to avoid suspicion. Tubman could identify the Big Dipper and the North Star, which guided her all the way to Canada. Harriet was responsible.
Like that's another thing is like, yes, you can get to Canada by going straight north, but that's not what she did, you know? Like if you watch, if you look at the maps of her various trails and things, she usually went north until she got to around the Mohawk River and then went straight west. She would cross around Niagara Falls for many of her trips. You know, that's not north. Like, what do you fucking mean?
Another thing, she did not go to Canada at first. She went to like the first northern free state at first until they outlawed it there. She had to get rid of people further. But yeah, she didn't start going to Canada at first.
And also, I suppose I should note, one of the reasons there's so many stops on the Underground Railroad that happen to mirror the Erie Canal was because the Erie Canal was a thing, and because of its nature for, you know, both massive transit area, right? Like there's boats coming from the Atlantic and going all the way across the fucking country. Well, the country at the time, because it was a little smaller, but going all the way across to the Great Lakes through a canal system. It was a little more cosmopolitan. And also because of the canal, there were little villages literally 1 day's travel apart on purpose, because the barges had to put in every fucking day to feed the horses and resupply, because they're only little barges, you know?
For feeding and finding ways to heal her passengers. Winter travel might have made foraging difficult, but she was quite proficient at keeping them fed. Her ability to forage and identify a wide variety of edible nuts, such as acorn and pinyon, provided necessary proteins, while sap and conifer leaves, thistle shoots, or burdock roots were plants that could be consumed raw. She became highly skilled.
See, that's another thing. There is something to this. Like, you know, I myself would grab goodies that you could eat while wandering out in the wilderness. You can do that, but it only works when the things are in season. Like you can only get wild strawberries in the 2 weeks in June when there are wild strawberries, you know?
Yeah.
You can't just, we have this idealized version of the wilderness that there's always something in bloom. That's not true.
Yeah.
As a herbalist, carrying herbs with her for pain relief and to clean wounds. Being on the run, especially under the cover of darkness, brought additional challenges as well as accidents. In the event of an injury, she used crane skill and lily roots to heal wounds and river herbs for intestinal issues. Traveling long distance with children brought in challenges. In addition to slowing them down, keeping them still or silent was especially difficult. On a few of her trips, when she escorted very small children, in order for them to be kept quiet, she would feed them bread laced with valerian root to calm them down or opium to put them to sleep.
Now, that's plausible. That was those were both common techniques for helping to quiet unruly children. Putting children to sleep, that has its pluses and minuses. That will get them to be quiet when the slave catchers are near, but is inadvisable if you're going for speed, because then you have to carry them, and children get heavy really fast when you're trying to move. But also opium has never been cheap. Like you're not gonna just have opium the way we have aspirin today. You know, it's
Strong allies against slavery, Harriet Tubman and John Brown supported and respected each other, believing that violence was the only way for it to be abolished. Introduced.
Very important note that just gets noted and moved on. Harriet Tubman, for all her religiousness, for all her trying to save people's lives, for all the good she did, she was convinced the only thing that would set everyone free was violence. Now, why do you suppose that might be? And John Brown, who was a white man who happened to be an abolitionist, came to the same conclusion. Why do you suppose that might be? In a system where landed white men had all the power and were the only ones that anyone listened to, did a landed white man believe violence was the only solution left? There was not a political, diplomatic way to resolve this issue. Why do you suppose that might be? And what can we learn about that applies to today?
History repeats itself.
Well, it doesn't repeat, but sometimes it sure does fucking rhyme.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In Canada,
Sometimes it gets pretty damn close to repeating.
Well,
they talked about him anyways. Here we go.
I know we're gonna get a little bit about him.
A little bit about him.
At Harpersferry, Virginia, Tubman shared her valuable abolitionist connections and extensive contacts to help him raise funds to support his work. Tapping into her network of freed slaves who successfully made it to Canada, she recruited volunteers for Brown. Tubman helped to plan the raid, with her intimate knowledge of trails and escape routes becoming an important role in their strategy. The raid contributed to regional tensions and was designed to spark widespread slave rebellions in southern states.
And that's sort of the thing, right? Like, if the raid had been successful. Now, to be clear, and they may mention it, because of her recurring illnesses, she wasn't able to participate in the raid itself. And they had way too few people. They did not successfully raid the armory. But what was the plan if they did? Were they going to hand out weapons to the slaves? Like, what was the end goal here? Instead, they got their asses kicked. And that did a lot more in terms of like spreading the message and making the point and conveying the significance of what was happening to people. It's not impossible that this raid helped provoke the fucking Civil War, but that was John Brown's goal, is he wanted armed slave rebellions. I mean, maybe he didn't want a civil war per se, but getting people to fight for their freedom and getting other people to fight for other people's freedom was the only way he understood anyone was going to have any real freedom.
Brown hoped that the raid would allow him to amass an army of free and emancipated slaves to join the fight to end slavery. Originally planning to participate, Tubman became ill, unable to join him. In the end, the raid on Harper's Ferry failed. With only 22 men participating, the small group was quickly surrounded and suppressed by U.S. Marines.
Now, it's also worth noting, this was a period in American history where people wandering around with private armies was sort of a banality. What's his Mormon dude? Joseph Smith. You know, they had the whole thing with the Mormon Wars a little bit further to the west. Like the Mormons were armed and like just declaring parts of the country independent and setting up their cult compounds and all this shit. And this is another thing we still see today. Separatist cults building compounds and arming themselves to the fucking teeth. For the most part, as long as they stay to themselves, we don't pull a Waco. But every now and then it becomes necessary to have some kind of armed conflict with these fuckers. And that's not great because it usually results in a whole lot of people getting dead. But the point is that people rising up against elements of the government with a private army, not actually rare at the time.
John Brown was tried, found guilty, and hung. Although the raid was unsuccessful, many believe that it added to the social and political tensions that led to the Civil War. Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry was viewed...
Now, that's the thing. Did it add to the tensions? Maybe. In that the southern states became very much aware that people were willing to literally fight them over this. It's hard to say because, late 1850s, we're talking Buchanan's term, right? And Buchanan, as a president, gets a lot of shit because he failed to stop the Civil War. But here's the thing. A lot of people, again, our history classes are crap. The Civil War only became inevitable with the election of Lincoln. It wasn't because Buchanan failed to stop it. The fact it didn't happen until Lincoln is because of Buchanan. If we'd had another Buchanan, ostensibly, he could have put it off further. And whatever you think of the good or the bad of that, he believed that war was the least optimal solution. Like, there's a lot of moral and political discussions to be had about that point of view. But if you really believe that a person being alive in slavery is better than being dead for the cause of freedom, then preventing the war seems the moral conclusion,
Yeah.
as the work of a fanatic. Considered by Tubman and others as a martyr, he became an icon for the Union, with his name being made into a song that eventually became the rallying cry for Union troops. Having lost a friend, Tubman mourned his death, later saying, "He'd done more in dying than 100 men would in living."
And that is a really important rhetorical point. Because he died. He became a martyr. And the significance of martyr, well, look at the fucking Charlie Kirk movement right now, right? Like a person dying becomes a symbol, especially when it was a white man dying to help black people, to help slaves, that the other white people, whether they were for or against slavery on a moral level, did not think were fully human. Like even the abolitionist Northerners did not think black people were fully human, just that they didn't deserve to be enslaved, And see a man give his life for their benefit. That's powerful.
Certain people still don't think that black people are full human. If we see that,
it's been a running problem. There's there's a white lady, I forget her fucking name, but she was arrested in the 1960s for participating in the civil rights movement. She was at a demonstration. I'm not sure if Dr. King was there at the time or not, but she was arrested for being part of the demonstration, peaceful demonstration, no less. The very first thing they did was give her a psychiatric exam because they assumed she must have a mental illness. Because what other reason would a white woman have to be supporting civil rights?
You think about Harriet Tubman. She was one of the biggest risk takers. She was willing again and again and again and again to risk her life, to risk her safety, to risk her very own freedom, to free other people. She did it on the...
It means a lot. Like even today, when we often consider life to be cheap and pointless, even today, the fact that someone will risk their lives to help someone else, like look at firefighters, right? Like they mostly put out fires where everyone's already out of the house, but on occasion, there's a child trapped in a bedroom or a little old lady trapped on the 5th floor or whatever the case may be. They put themselves in danger to save another person. And we call them heroes for that. The fact that this person is putting her life in danger all the time, and not just as a consequence of what she does, but as a key element of what she does. Holy shit.
Brown Railroad and freed scores of friends and family and community members. And then she came to South Carolina to the belly of the beast.
That's another important note. She didn't just stick to her own friends and people that she known when she was a child. She went to South Carolina. Remember, she was born in Maryland, the northernmost slave state at the time. South Carolina, though.
Yeah.
To set the stage, months into the Civil War, as Lincoln and his cabinet formulated their war plans, they were in search of a strategic port of operations. In order to become more efficient in launching their missions, the Union Army needed to establish a southern stronghold to fight the Confederates, as well as find ways to disrupt their military equipment and food supply routes. The Port Royal Sound area, which includes Hilton Head Island, was a strategic location due to its navigable waterways and deep harbor that's situated between the key Confederate cities of Charleston, Beaufort, and Savannah. The area was perfect to establish the Union headquarters of the South, which was responsible for operations in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Hilton Head's harbor was also very conducive to enabling the Union to build, repair, and resupply their naval ships. Even though the Confederate...
Because remember, there was a naval blockade. That's what the whole Fort Sumter thing was. Is there was a naval blockade of the city because the federal fort would not surrender. So yeah, I mean, we've all heard the stories about the steel-clad ships, the Merrimack, and what was the other one? I want to say Mortimer, but that's not right.
Oh geez. I just saw this the other day too. I cannot remember now.
Monitor. Holy shit. Monitor and Merrimack. There we go. It's a minor detail, but it bugs me when like a really Zork knows. Monitor. It just bugs me when little bits like that escape me. I'm like, no, it should be there. Live broadcasting, folks.
had established forts on Hilton Head Island. As soon as the Navy pulled into the harbor, the soldiers abandoned the area, with most of the plantation owners fleeing behind them, leaving thousands of enslaved Gullah people behind. The enslaved that lived on the coastal sea islands were unique because they were Gullah descendants who blended their West African traditions into a unique culture and language. With the Union establishing military bases on the island, the Gullah, along with 10,000 freedom-seeking slaves called contrabands, were eager to learn and experience their newfound citizenship in addition to joining the war effort.
The contrabands? Okay, that's a whole dimension of history I had not heard about before. And that's why I wanted to do a longer documentary, because there's stuff that I don't know in here, you know? The contrabands. Civil War. What? Okay, so Google says they were enslaved people as well as escapees who sought refuge behind Union lines, classified by the Union Army as confiscated enemy property. Holy shit. The term was first used at Fortress Monroe, Virginia, when 3 enslaved men escaped to Union lines, and General Butler argued that they were property used to aid the Confederacy, therefore making them contraband of war. By classifying them as contraband, the Union avoided returning them to slavery. Wowzers. And the policy later became formalized under the Confiscation Acts of 1861 and 1862. What the fuck? So they had camps of hundreds of thousands of escapees and liberated slaves living in makeshift contraband camps near the Union Army installations, which often faced harsh conditions, overcrowding, disease, refugee problems, as well as slave problems. Fucking wonderful. But the contrabands often performed vital labor for the Union, such as building fortifications, working as cooks or teamsters, and did receive pay and practical, useful freedom. So many of the contraband men later enlisted in the United States Colored Troops, which had its own division, and the system laid the groundwork for the Freedmen's Bureau, which was sort of like the VA, but for former slaves. It's so fucked up. Like, in a way, it's clever legal maneuvering to avoid dealing with Congress over the whole we're going to free the slaves thing, because if you just take the fact that within law they're called property and just use that to give them their freedom, like, oh, okay, you say they're property.
Mhm.
Cool, they're confiscated property. What now? Fuck off. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of clever, but also kind of nightmarish at the same time. I see a puppy.
Sugar.
Oh,
She's so
cuteness.
sweet. Such a
I
sweetheart.
think Sugar is trying to tell me she has to go. So I'm going to need to get off now. I overslept, so I missed the first
Aw.
like 15, 20 minutes of the show. But I have my show at 1 o'clock with Seth Henderson at Amber's Apostate.
Mm-hmm.
On right after this. So let me get ready for that. And I will what are you talking about tomorrow? I'll probably be on tomorrow too.
Well, tomorrow's Saturday, so
it is Friday. Okay, thank you. Nothing's going on. Okay, I miss a day, but I still gotta work.
Like time travel.
I still have to go
wild.
to work, so sometimes I forget that it's Saturday.
But yeah, Monday for Job and Jugs, we found a guy who's going to mansplain how women's desire works. That should be fun. And then
we don't know how that works.
I know. Heaven forbid. We couldn't understand how it's complicated physiology. I'm sure our puny women brains just can't wrap our heads around it.
But
we need a man to tell us how it works. Holy shit!
We're talking about Glory is probably one of my favorite movies. Which talks about Civil War. And,
hell yeah!
And the all black regiment army that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Very deep movie. But I love you all.
Love you too, Kelly.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
We'll see you in a bit. So yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff coming up as per usual.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, stay tuned. The stream should redirect you right over to Kelly's after we wrap up here. Hopefully, sometimes it works.
Mm-hmm.
With so many formerly enslaved to care for and educate, several northern charities and organizations began sending teachers to the area to help provide the skills necessary for the Gullah to become educated and self-sufficient.
They sent teachers. What?
Among the abolitionists who sent representatives down to the Sea Island, Governor John Andrew of Massachusetts sent Harriet Tubman in May of 1862 to teach and assist with the formerly enslaved and eventually nurse ill and wounded soldiers.
See, now that's fascinating because she'd become infamous enough that when the governor of Massachusetts was like, who should we send? He sends for Harriet Tubman to be an educator as well as a nurse. Like, we're covering a lot of territory really, really fast in this documentary, but it's worth noting that by this point, you know, the early 1860s, remember she first became active in 1850-ish. So she's been at this for like 12 years. She's picked up enough skills that she's a qualified nurse. She knows enough stuff that she's a qualified educator. Plus also there's some nefarious reasons in there because she knows how to find her way out of bad situations. Like she is famous at this point among Ferry for that matter too, you know? So like the governor of Massachusetts is like, let's send Tubman if she'll go because she wasn't a Massachusetts citizen, you know?
By the time Harriet arrived in Beaufort, she had already made a name for herself as a conductor on the Underground Railroad. Her work and opinion was very influential, enabling her to establish a significant stature and recognition within prominent circles, the military, and the government. Harriet's level of importance, especially as a Black woman during those times, was unprecedented. Her value to the Union Army was clearly expressed when
Okay, let's read this quote before it disappears. This is a quote from General Hunter, who says, "Pass the bearer, Harriet Tubman, to Beaufort, and back to this place and wherever she wishes to go, and give her passage at all times on all government transports. Harriet is a valuable woman." So this is like an official pass saying, when this person presents this paper, just do what she says. Whatever she needs, just do what she says.
General David Hunter said, "Pass the bearer, Harriet Tubman, to Beaufort and back to this place and wherever she wishes to go, and give her passage at all times on all government transport. Harriet is a valuable woman." As the war progressed, Harriet
I didn't think they were actually going to read it. It looked like it was starting to fade.
spent a significant amount of time tending to injured soldiers, whose numbers seemed never ending. Day after day, the wounded would come in, and Harriet described each day in vivid detail.
Every morning, I'd go over and I'd get a hunk of ice, and I'd get a basin and put some water in it with a sponge, and I'd go on over to the hospital. Now,
Naturally, this is a reenactment. This is you can see modern cars going by in the background. We couldn't do video like this back then. And why are there 2 cameras?
by the time I'd bathed 4 or 5 of them, the heat would melt the ice, and then when you looked in the basin looked like clear blood.
Harriet's value to the Union Army included her success on the Underground Railroad, which was found in part because as a fugitive slave herself, she was able to easily blend into various environments, often altering her appearance and establishing trust with the slaves. With an
Master of disguise, which is kind of useful for not getting captured by slave catchers.
incredible memory for details, she could scout out escape routes throughout the South, which she shared with the military, who eventually realized that she could provide them with invaluable intelligence and give them significant advantages in the war effort. Even though she spent 3 years in Beaufort and Hilton Head Island, she was still at a disadvantage because the enslaved people spoke Gullah, a Creole-based language that's a combination of English and West African words. Of course, most of the enslaved didn't trust the soldiers or their intentions. However, she used her ability to blend in to gain the trust of successful escaped slaves, with the helps of several scouts called Black Dispatches, who risked their lives re-entering
Like that is important. Like a lot of, especially given the language barrier in the region, but anywhere there were slaves, they would not trust white people with good reason, because they've never had a white person worthy of trust. And not all the Northerners were on board with Black people being people. But she had known John Brown. She had known there were white people who would give their lives for this cause, that they actually did care. Even if they didn't believe full equality, that didn't matter for this purpose. And also, she was well enough placed, she had enough clout that she had a fucking pass from a general, you know, like she had the pull to make sure the white people they encountered would help, at least the Northerners.
Confederate territory to gather information and spy on plantation owners, she was able to collect valuable intelligence. The incredibly detailed intelligence that she was able to amass with the assistance of several of her scouts regarding the surrounding area proved that she was a very valuable asset to the Union officers. One of the Union's goals for establishing a base of operations where they did was to execute a series of river raids during the spring and summer of 1863 to deny the South access to its critical food supplies of rice, cotton, and grain around the region.
Now, it's worth noting that, you know, blockades of harbors, access to rivers, all these things are very, very important, which goes to show something I should have talked about a lot earlier. It's the importance of water. Hey folks, I've been working hard on my health, and so far I've lost over 140 pounds. A huge part of good health is hydration. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Epic Water Filters. Check this out. Not only can you say goodbye to expensive bottled water, but these filters are made in the US, so no tariffs, and they're made to fit your life. From these lovely pitchers I can fill from, to sink units, to portable filters that fit in your reusable bottle. With Epic, I can refill from nature's water sources and not have to worry about bacteria and whatnot. But also, send back a used filter to be responsibly recycled, and they'll send you a free replacement, saving you and the earth even more. Want to save a ton of money, be healthier, and build a better world? Head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't settle for random water. Upgrade to Epic. Huzzah! And things.
It always reminds me when they're talking about the Gullah Islands that are off of I think South Carolina. There used to be a children's show when I was a kid called Gullah Islands, and it was based there, and it was always really cool. I remember I liked that one a lot. But that's when I originally learned about it, and then I started digging into the history and stuff when I was in high school, and it was actually really cool. So,
Aha, you got baited into the history. Aha.
yeah. I ended up being a historian, so history's always been my thing, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Like, I had a bit of a roundabout thing. Like, there's so much in history that's nifty. There's so much hidden information there that's not really that hidden, but no one ever looks. You know, I kind of got baited in a couple of different ways. One was in elementary school, we took a trip to the local historical society, which it's not that much of a city, so it's not that much of a historical society compared to like the big museums that you'll find in like Baltimore or Boston or something. But they did have one thing of particular interest: the Congressional Medal of Honor for Dr. Mary Walker. And I was like, what's this? Because at the time, it was understood that women had never been given the Congressional Medal of Honor. And here's a Congressional Medal of Honor awarded to a woman like close to 100 years ago. So I started learning the history that they were deliberately not teaching us in schools. And that started to make that interesting from a different perspective. There's a whole lot of backstory. To skip over all of that, I got interested in a computer game called Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe, and that the game book for that game, it told you about the planes because it was an aircraft game, you know, Luftwaffe being the German Air Force. But it also told you about some of the backstory, the bits of history that aren't super common about the development, like. Because it was secret weapons, they had like the Me-193, the Me-262, the first fighter jet to see combat, the Golgotha Go 229, the first flying wing, which our B-2 bombers are based on today. All of this stuff that you don't learn about in regular history classes.
Yeah.
And some of the internal conflicts, like there's a whole thing about D-Day. One of the cool things about this game is you could play out the entire course of the war. You could start at the beginning of the war with like late World War I stuff. Like you could fly a mission with a fucking Sopwith Camel. And then there's the introduction of the modern mechanical planes. And it just goes through, and you can play through D-Day, which means you get the lore and the spycraft about D-Day, the misdirection, the putting the note on the dead body and say, you know, all the whole story, which also not taught in schools. I mean, it's not exactly hidden, but it's not taught in schools. And you know, the Enigma machine, and learning about Alan Turing, all this, it's in the manual for this fucking game. And like, I like the manual as much as I like the game. I read it all the way through for all those nuggets of history. And that got me kind of addicted to finding other nuggets of history. I found that most times, at least most times that people talk about, have a lot of hidden history to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's... with history, it's one of those things that, like, you can find yourself in a rabbit hole and then end up making the entire career out of that rabbit hole. I mean, there's so much there.
Oh, yeah. All right, I digress. Tangents. People come here for the tangents. It's true. I hope y'all are enjoying the tangents today, because there's a lot of subject, and I would love to cover like all the things about Harriet Tubman, but also I gotta be me. Tangents.
The most logical way to do that was to devise plans that would not only cause enough chaos to disrupt and punish plantation operations, but also liberate the enslaved. The thinking was that since the Union needed reinforcements, the liberated slaves could also join their ranks, thus bolstering their numbers. Union Colonel James Montgomery, an abolitionist and jaywalker, came to Hilton Head Island and was chosen to lead several of the missions that were pivotal to crippling the South.
A jaywalker, you say? I wonder what that means.
After recruitment efforts in Key West, Montgomery was eager to add soldiers to his command, appreciating the loyalty and dedication of the colored troops.
James Montgomery is a really fascinating militant abolitionist. He was a friend of John Brown, so that kind of puts you in a category right there. So basically, escalation of violence. Montgomery became just more and more strident, I guess you would say. both admired and despised, kind of depending on your perspective. And Montgomery really stepped up his kind of anti-slavery agitation at that point. And most notably, Montgomery and his followers were very active in the Underground Railroad. So there was a lot of violence kind of pre-Civil War. And then finally, when the war broke out, Montgomery ended up commanding the 3rd Kansas Regiment. Montgomery took to the next level when he got to the Department of South in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, a very harsh war to punish Southern slaveholders and to free enslaved people. So he's really a dynamic figure. He took that war on slavery to the Department of the South. Fundamental thing, though, that he maintained a passion to end slavery. He just thought, like John Brown, slavery had to go. It was an essential step to get to where we needed to go, and he never lost that drive.
I really appreciate that there's like bits with actual historians in here. Like, I mean, it's a documentary, but you like to see that, like, oh look, an actual historian instead of just random stuff. But there's a lot about the war in here, so I want to skip ahead some because we are very quickly running out of show. I wish there were more about the Underground Railroad instead of this myth stuff about like finding mosses on trees and shit, and more like how the logistics actually worked, because that's what people don't fucking know. But never mind that. There is a lot about the war, so let's skip to after the war before we run out of show.
Regardless of Harriet's valuable military influence, and as the first woman of color in United States history to scout out, plan, and participate in a successful military raid, however incredibly,
lead a military raid.
She was not paid for or fully recognized for her service. During the war, in order to supplement her income, the generals gave her permission to run an eating house in Beaufort, South Carolina, where at night she made and sold baked goods, gingerbread, and root beer to the soldiers to support herself, as well as send money home to Auburn, New York.
Harriet Tubman.
So wait. She's doing all of this other stuff and running a bakery. Like, the fact that she had to do that is beyond bullshit. But the fact that she did do that.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I have no idea.
I thought I was good at multitasking. Holy
No
shit.
kidding.
And in fact, one of the officers said that she could get more information from them than anybody. So she really was that key piece, I think, that made the raid possible, where she would get the information and be the go-between between freed people and the white military commanders. So, but Tubman was an indispensable collaborator in that. The fugitives who escaped the Union lines had that intelligence and were eager to share it, particularly with Harriet Tubman there at Beaufort, South Carolina, and Hilton Head, that area.
Incredibly, for 34 years after the war ended, she submitted petitions for a Civil War pension in which she claimed that she was owed a total of $966 for her services as a nurse, spy, and cook. Her military,
I dare say, which is also ballsy as hell, and we love to see it. Like, I'm just going to send him an invoice.
service, however, was not well documented, and it is believed that the omission was to hide her identity and to protect her in the event of her capture from the Confederate Army.
James Montgomery never wrote a report about the Cumberland River raid, and I wish he would have, and if he would have mentioned Tubman or not. Montgomery was requested by General David Hunter to submit by telegraph what happened during the raid. So Montgomery might not have written anything, but he wrote a brief paragraph. Was all he wrote about the raid. He described, taking the steamboats up. There were some sharp skirmishes, and we destroyed all these things. Freed, I think he said 725 people, and took some fine horses, as he put it. And that's all he wrote about it. He never wrote further. And in fact, I found other records where the Department of South, the headquarters in Hilton Head, they would constantly or frequently request that Montgomery send in his regimental reports and then brigade reports. And Montgomery became a brigade commander of 2 or 3 black regiments. So he wasn't a stickler for the details of administration. Montgomery was.
Well, no, it's not necessarily that he was like a sloppy record keeper, because that is a big part of being a commanding officer, is also being an administrator, which is one of the reasons that we have so many downsides to our military that we do, because it's always been that way. But he did understand the necessities of not making public information that would be very disadvantageous to your side if it were intercepted. You have to be aware there are spies. You have to be aware that messengers are sometimes killed and the message is captured. So you can't spread protected information. And it's really unfortunate when there's information like this is a thing in an age where there's bots reading all of our emails and shit. We have to be very careful about what we say. There's certain things that I talk about online very obliquely because you cannot say them because it'll get you taken down. It'll cause the algorithm to blacklist you, or the information will get into the hands of the people whom it is disastrous to have that information. And unfortunately, sometimes it leads to several miscommunications. Like there have been a number of dramatic conflicts within our community that resulted from someone not having the full information and instead of asking, jumped to conclusions because we couldn't communicate openly on a fucking live stream about it, you know? It's really unfortunate, but that's a necessity sometimes. So, I mean, I guess as skeptics, as humanists, it behooves us to always ask before jumping to conclusions, especially about people's motivations. But also bear in mind that even if it seems as though a person may be behaving a certain way, it could be because they can't talk about a certain thing on a fucking live stream. It's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is, as Jester says in a super chat for $5, thank you, Jester, not all heroes wear capes, headscarves, and shawls, but if you do, you'd be in the best company. It's true. See, Harriet was a hat girl. I mean, well, also a headscarf girl, but you know, whatever.
Kind of in the John Brown mold of like, let's go, great damage, re-enslave people, you know.
Ultimately, the gross omission in documentation was a great disservice to her, and she only received $200 for 3 years of military service. Even with influential friends along with their support, only when her second husband died was she able to get a widow's pension of $8 a month. By the time Harriet received any money, she was living in poverty and was being supported by her neighbors.
Now, it's fascinating to note that the entire time she was helping not only fellow former slaves, but also the Union Army, she was getting fucked over by the Union Army. And she kept doing it. And she knew it was going to continue. Like, whatever justification you want to give it, that the general just couldn't write down her name in case she ever got captured. The other general gave her a fucking note that she carried on her person saying, give her access to all U.S. government transports she needs. Take her wherever she needs to go. Like, there wasn't actually an issue of writing shit down in case she gets captured. But even if that were the case, what the fuck?
Yeah. Eventually, she donated her home to a local church so that it could be used to care for aged and indigent colored people. Her only request was that she too could live there for the rest of her days. Prior to the release of Tubman's biography, Moses of Her People, in 1868, Tubman wrote a letter to her friend and fellow abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, who was also formerly enslaved.
Wayne says one of the first Black U.S. secret agents. It's true. And in fact, aside from the Culper spy ring in New York City during the Revolution, she's one of the first secret agents. Like, we didn't really understood there was a certain value to spies and intelligence and counterintelligence. Just the Americans were very bad at setting this up.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't really have functional internal spies. Like, every diplomat is a spy, right? All of them. That's part of the training of being in the diplomatic corps. And that's true for every country. That's expected. But we didn't have a very good internal spy network until the Pinkertons, and they were a private business.
Yet rose to political prominence as a renowned public speaker and published writer. In her letter, she asked him to endorse her book. Douglass replied to Tubman with this letter. Dear Harriet, I'm glad to know that the story of your eventful life has been written by a kind lady and that the same is soon to be published. You ask for what you do not need when you call upon me for a word of commendation. I need such words from you far more than you can need them from me, especially where your superior labors and devotion to the cause of the lately enslaved of our land are known as I know them. The difference between us is very marked. Most that I have done and suffered in the service of our cause has been in public, and I have received much encouragement at every step of the way. You, on the other hand, have labored in a private way. I have wrought in the day, you in the night.
Literally true, since most of traveling was at night. But yes.
Have had the applause of the crowd and the satisfaction that comes with being approved by the multitude, while the most that you have done has been witnessed by a few trembling, scared, and footsore bondmen and women who you have led out of the house of bondage, and whose heartfelt "God bless you" has been your only reward. The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and of your heroism. Excepting John Brown of sacred memory, I know of no one who has willingly encountered more perils and hardships to serve our enslaved people than you have. Much that you have done would seem improbable to those who do not know you as I know you. It is to me a great pleasure and a great privilege to bear testimony for your character and your works, and to say to those to whom you may come that I regard you in every way truthful and trustworthy. Your friend, Frederick Douglass.
And that is a really, really good point, right? Like Frederick Douglass was sort of like the Martin Luther King of the time. He was widely held up as like the model former slave, the person who wanted freedom for others and was willing to do good things. But he was more of the public showcase type person.
Yeah.
You know, he was popular in the Northeast. He wrote a lot, and you could see he was very good with words, not just for a Black person, but like people of the time were not terribly good with verbiage. But that's honestly, that's a problem today too, with 86% of the United States being functionally illiterate. But never mind that for now. The point is, you know, he was a man. He was the public face of things. He was like the good one, you know. And he did do great things too in his own way, but he didn't go through the countryside leading raids on plantations, you know.
Yeah,
there was a pretty big difference. But most of all, Harriet Tubman, whatever you thought of her as a person, she made very clear specifically what she stood for, and she did what she said she was going to do. So if Harriet Tubman came to you and said, I want to do this, will you help? It doesn't matter what you think of her. You fucking help. Just because she's the one who's asking.
Yeah.
There's very few people like that today. I have the privilege to know a couple of them. Where if they, because I understand what they want, what they stand for, and all those relevant factors. It doesn't matter how I feel about them as a person or how they feel about me as a person. If they need something, you help them.
It's good to know
Prior to
people
her
like
death,
that.
Harriet Tubman was awarded full military honors. Unfortunately, her work, like that of most Black historical figures and their achievements in documented history as well as textbooks, gloss over what she had accomplished or only includes minor information, such as in her case with the Underground Railroad.
Her help was essential to the success of the raid. But it was Chase Montgomery, who was the military commander, who ordered the different companies off, at Tar Bluff and at Fields Point, and kind of oversaw, made the decisions. But she was right there with him, from what I can gather. She made it possible, but was not.
So there was an official commanding officer present to sign off on things, because there needs to be.
Leading it like a general on the battlefield, so to speak. She's more like the guide or pilot. So I think that was really her role, to gather that intelligence, and was right there shoulder to shoulder with Montgomery during the raid. So
she was a land pirate who stole people, contraband people, and brought them into freedom. Unreal bravery, unreal badassery. The fact that it worked is remarkable and a testament to her skill and ability. But the fact that she did it shows she had more balls than any fucking white abolitionist of the time, except possibly John Brown. But even he didn't try sneaking around to free people directly. He wanted to go attack a military base, you know?
I hate that there's kind of a controversy that's developed. Let's just give her credit for that. That's pretty amazing.
2021 marks the 158th year since the Combahee River raid. Time has clearly erased the philosophical difference.
Cayuga County. Right. This is one of the history markers near Auburn. Auburn is in Cayuga County, by the by. Moses of her people. There's different historical markers all over Auburn because of her. There's a lot of stuff in Auburn. Auburn, best known for being a prison. Like, the city exists because there's a prison. That's literally the industry in Auburn. I mean, there are a few other things there. Like, there's a company called Auburn Armature. There's another company that deals with like inflatable plastics and some shit. There are other businesses there, but the city exists because of the prison. In Harriet Tubman's, it was just an intersection of farm roads, which may be why she liked it. Another possibility is the cemetery. It's called Fort Hill Cemetery, which means there probably was a fort around there back in those days. But whatever the case may be, this specific hill is a hub on butterfly migrations, monarch migrations.
Ooh.
Every fall, all the monarchs from the northern part of the Northeast, from Quebec and for parts up that way, plus all of the Northeast United States, come through Auburn and land on this hill on the same day. Now, we can't nail it to a calendar because they do it based on seasonal changes, but it's always within a few weeks, one way or the other, of the autumnal equinox. If you happen to catch the hill on that day, it's just a sea of fucking monarchs. Maybe
that would be
there's
so cool.
Poetic about a migration on that scale that spoke to Harriet's nature. Or maybe she just liked the territory. I don't know. It's one of the remarkable things, though. Like, there's a few places in the country where phenomena like that happen, but Auburn happens to be one of them.
Differences that existed since the South challenged the North. The differences, however, made the Civil War into one of the most pivotal points in American history. It reunited and changed the direction of a divided nation. It also forged the path into a future for nearly 3.9 million new citizens.
But like with the Combahee River raid, this is such an important, compelling story that we need to get these stories out there. It's a marker of where we've been as a country and where we can go. As you see kind of glimpses or hopes from people back then collaborating to end this horrible.
Oh my goodness, Florida designated the Harriet Tubman Highway. That must piss DeSantis the fuck off, and I love it.
No shit.
This DEI highway, they named a highway after her just because it's black. Why don't the white supremacists insist on white highways? I would love to see what happens if they ever got white highways. Jester sends us another super chat for $5. Thank you, Jester. And says, it's fine. What do literacy even do? Do the letters and the spellings even do anything? How do we know they don't AI it ahead of time? If you know, you know. Jester says, I worked way too hard to meme that super chat. We appreciate the effort.
The effort is appreciated.
All right, folks, we're getting close to the end here. I started a couple of minutes early because that's when the preceding show wrapped up. So my timer doesn't match the actual clock, but we are very quickly coming to the end of our show for today. So we'll go a couple more minutes, but I do want to warn you that we are going to wrap up soon, and also that this show will automatically take you over to Kelly's for ambushed apostate dropping by. They're going to cause some mischief. It should be an adventure. So yay.
Institution slavery. It could be a reference point for how we move forward. And it's just a mixture of
oh, and if you're watching in the future, hello, future people. You've made it this far. You must be enjoying what you're seeing. Please take a second to hit the subscribe button and join us live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern or replays after, fine too. I try to have like enough educational content that it's worth rewatching, even though it's a live stream. I know a lot of live streams are just people hanging out and there's no rewatch value, but like we try to learn things here. So
hey, I think it has rewatch value. That's just me though. I like learning stuff.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's why I spent too many years in college.
Well,
I couldn't decide what I wanted to do.
Same, but also like student loans, but never mind.
Yeah. That was also part of
the
my
hopes and
motivation.
dreams, but then also the tragic failures all mixed in together when we study that era.
I find this moment in time, the Civil War and the raid being an important moment in the evolution of what we call today Gullah Geechee. I also find that, we're living in an interesting moment right now in a lot of ways with racial reckoning and social justice. And some would say the new lost cause. And I find
the new lost cause. That's an interesting term, especially considering it pertains to like civil rights and shit. Because that's the thing. It's like we're always fighting to expand civil rights, because as much as people want to talk about freest country there's ever been or whatever, we still don't all have equal rights. And in some ways, right now, things are going in the wrong direction. Fuck. It's a really important time to remember the people who fought like hell to expand rights to more people.
Mm-hmm.
And also Eric Wander, who fights like hell in his own way. In this case, today, he is gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you. Those went to, I need to open a different window. Lisa is a blogger. Communist number 09182. Congrats, comrade. Flockmeister, Lisa Farkey, Sydney Raptor. Yeah, that's everybody. Because the next person is Jason Jacoby, who says the Constitution is useless if we restrict who is and is not human, which is true. So yeah, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that very, very much. And I suppose that's a good place to put a pin in things. Fucking fight, people, because it's everyone's rights.
Yeah.
So
and if you think that you're immune to it, you're not. That'll come for you eventually too.
Everyone ends up in chains at some point. Like that one photo we saw of the person chained to a stick with blocks on his back. That could be any of us. We need to make sure that never happens to anyone again. Be like Harriet. Fuck them bitches. Thank you all so much for joining us. As per usual, we're here every weekday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Next week, Job and Jugs we have great stuff scheduled. So please subscribe, please join us. We look forward to seeing you in the future. And lots of great stuff coming up on other channels. So yeah, stick around, enjoy the community, and have yourselves a wonderful day. And as always, remember, you don't have to try to enslave everyone around you because you have a very tiny a very tiny sense of self-importance. I mean, a very tiny God who demands it of you because you are better than religion. Wow. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for January. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Secular Feelinist, Kelly King, The Detroit Atheist Queen, Geo Sam, Thriver Scapegoat, The Godless Engineer, Why Because Weed Bro, and Katie Bluebird. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which also includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
When I Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop,